Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Hope Podcast. Today we have Doyle Turner. Doyle is a farmer. Doyle is a board member for the Free Soil Foundation, a board member for Iowa Liberty Network with me. Probably has like 7 or 8 other things going on at a given time.
Seems like it.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity.
Doyle, you are probably one of the busiest guys at the Capitol when we're in session. Every time I'm there, you're there, and you're always talking to legislators. So did you ever think that you would be in the Capitol, like
never
rubbing shoulders with all the...
That was never on my bingo card. I never thought that this would be something I would ever think of doing.
How did it come about? I mean, you're just kind of a small town Iowan, right?
I come from Moville, Iowa, up northwest. I tell people that Moville's the only 4-way stop on Highway 20. The whole state hates us.
Oh, yeah. You guys, that is annoying.
Yeah, it is. So it all started out with they were wanting to bring wind turbines into Woodbury County. And so I started going to county supervisor meetings. And we were able to put setbacks in and get things in and stop the windmills from coming into Woodbury County. 2010s,
2010s, something
This would have been about 5-6 years ago.
Okay. Around 2020, actually.
Yeah. Okay. A little bit after that. We weren't wearing masks, so it was a little after the COVID scare.
Yep.
So I started going to those meetings, and after we got things done, I kind of I stayed for the whole meeting, and I kind of enjoyed knowing more what was going on. We have a really good board of supervisors in Woodbury County.
Good.
And so I just kept going. And as I got more involved and the supervisors, I have built a really good relationship with my supervisors. And then the next thing I know, these 2 women started talking about a CO2 pipeline. And I was kind of like, we've got all sorts of pipelines. Big deal.
Right.
Well, then I did a little research, and it's like, oh, this isn't our grandfather's pipeline. This is something totally different.
They would have been working for whatever the company is that wanted to put it in?
No, they were opposed to it.
They were opposed to it.
It was coming on their property.
Citizens
and they were,
of your county.
Yes, and they were trying to get the supervisors to do everything they could to fight it.
Okay.
So I got to looking into it, and I had made an investment years ago in a small company that one of the things they were doing was selling CO2.
Okay.
And so I knew this CO2 had value. I've got an economics and finance background. Used to be a banker. And so one of our real problems in Iowa is we sell natural resources. We sell corn and beans as corn and beans. We don't add value to those things. So my real issue was here we're building a pipeline to take a valuable commodity out of state as a base commodity when this is really, between 55 and 60% of our corn goes to ethanol. And a third of that corn is the CO2.
Okay.
So this is a major portion of what we produce, and it's leaving our state. I don't like that. So I came at it from a different view than most people of we need to stop this from an
economics is why you were looking at it. Yeah.
So I found 2 companies that were willing to build methanol plants at each ethanol plant. So where we wouldn't need a pipeline. We could increase the amount of fuel.
A methanol plant can use the CO2.
It puts hydrogen with the CO2 and it creates methanol. It's the most basic form of alcohol. It's used a lot in chemical processes. It can be a fuel also. But it would.
I think I've heard about people using that in geothermal for the lines too, because it's an alcohol that won't freeze
It's a form of that.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of different forms of it.
Okay.
But it's one of these things where we could increase the amount of fuel that we produce in our state by 2/3, by 66%.
Wow. Okay.
That's a huge deal. It also, a big part of what is going on is this green push with carbon index. The ethanol plants are under the same pressure that they're putting pressure to lower their carbon index score. And by you doing the methanol, we would actually lower that score more than the pipeline in the long run, because it also gives us the opportunity to produce SAF, the sustainable aviation fuel.
Okay.
And you can blend the methanol with the ethanol to make that, and it actually produces a much more higher value product.
Huh.
I'm not a big environmentalist. I don't really believe that we're ruining the earth, and I don't believe that carbon CO2 is a problem. We've had a higher level of CO2 in the past on the world than what we have now.
Right.
I'm not a big believer in global warming. I think there's cycles. Those things happen, and I think they're long-term
Obviously.
cycles. Sure, weather changes. We've had ice ages. We've had warm periods. That all changes, but that's out of our control.
Right.
I think human beings have a tendency to believe that we affect things more than we actually do.
We're a little self-centric sometimes. Yeah.
But anyhow, back to this. So then I got in contact with Steve King. And
Steve King, for those who don't know, legendary House of Representatives from, is he from Sioux City?
Chiron.
Okay. Western Iowa. Years and years he spent serving the people of Iowa. And then eventually they raised up a primary challenger for him, because, I mean, it was kind of like the, at least the way I remember it, was kind of like the, when the Republican Party turned on a bunch of its own patriots, and he was a racist or whatever during kind of peak woke, and he got voted out. His people voted him out in the primary, and but he's still active in politics. Still a really great voice for just contending for liberty in Iowa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He was chair of the Constitutional Committee in the House. I mean, his knowledge of the Constitution and his adherence to the Constitution are without doubt. So I got with him. He started the Free Soil Foundation and asked me to be on that board. And later on, we have a PAC, and we hired a lobbyist. And I'm like, well, if we're going to hire a lobbyist, I'm going to go down and make sure, see what I can learn and see what I can add. And I'm a little compulsive. I just kept doing it. And that's how I really got involved in going down to the Capitol and working with legislators. And, it's easy to be negative about what goes on in politics.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've met some really good people. We have, the Iowa Liberty Network.
Yeah. Some of the best legislators. Yeah.
What I found was the legislators that I was constantly working with, and the ones that would work to fight the eminent domain battle in the CO2 were Iowa Liberty Network legislators.
Yeah.
And that's like, well, if I'm working with all those legislators, I think I'd like to be on that board. So I actually asked Jim if I could be on the board. Yeah. And that's how that came about.
That's how you're part of Iowa Liberty Network now. And we're working for, we're a small but mighty group. We're principled people. We really are committed to supporting our legislators in the Capitol, but also just helping them with just praying for them and encouraging them and just all the basic things. So that's been good. So you're actually a lobbyist.
I did actually. I had a client, a potential client, so I went ahead and filed as a lobbyist just so that there would be no question. That never came through. I've never been paid. So I do this on my own dime. And, it's my wife thinks I'm crazy, but that isn't new. She's thought that for some time.
Yeah. You're a deal maker by nature, though. Like, you love to work, bring parties together, find a wise solution, work it out.
Yes. So I've been to the Capitol for 3 sessions. And the first session was a lot of learning.
Yep.
Then between sessions, it's like we have a rules problem. The problem is leadership controls the whole thing. And it doesn't matter if a majority wants something. If the leader doesn't, they don't necessarily get it.
Yeah. Can you just, how does a leader get in? When you're talking about leader, I guess, first of all, who is that? Like,
So in the Senate especially, the way the rules are written right now, the majority leader holds of the majority party holds almost all the power.
the majority leader is elected by the majority. Like, so
Correct.
all the Republicans are in the majority right now. They get together, they elect a majority leader.
And they had a super majority, so they were over 66%,
Yep.
all Republican. But the simple fact of the matter is it's just a majority of the majority that votes this majority leader in.
Right.
A majority of the majority isn't necessarily the majority of the whole
Yeah.
chamber.
Right. It could be about a quarter of it, actually, around
Yes.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. So this flies in the face of what we think about when we think about a republic. You know, this is an oligarchy. You have a small number of people who are wielding this massive power. It doesn't matter how your senator or representative wants to vote if they are never allowed to vote on the things they want to vote on.
It's been one of the surprising things as I've talked to just Cindy Golding or Kevin Alonzo or these different people that have wanted to bring some piece of legislation to bear, and actually it just came down to somebody in charge of a committee said, no, we're not going to vote on that.
Yes.
So it didn't even get to see the light of day.
It's aggravating when you know you have the votes to pass something
Yeah.
and you don't get a chance.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, and so I worked with Sandy Salmon,
Yep.
and I'm like, I called Sandy up.
One of the best senators we got.
Oh, she's awesome.
Yeah.
I said, Sandy, we don't need a new bull. We need to castrate the one we have. And she goes, you want to change the rules. She knew from that what I was referring to. And I knew that Sandy had been wanting to change the rules for a long time. I said, yes, I want to change the rules. And so we have a discharge petition. And what a discharge petition does is if you get a majority of the chamber to sign on to the discharge petition, they can force a bill to the majority leader. They can bypass the committees.
Okay.
Well, in the House of Representatives and in Congress, theirs actually takes it to the floor. And that's what we were trying to change it so that it would bypass the majority leader and force him to put it on the floor.
And then people can debate it. People can eventually vote on it. Ultimately.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that is typically voted on first day. And when the first day came, we did not have enough votes to pass that. Obviously, the Democrats who are in the minority, they'll vote for that because it gives them a chance. If they can convince enough Republicans, it gives them a chance to actually have a say.
They could do something, yeah.
Right now, with the supermajorities, they are completely ignored.
Yeah.
Which really bothers me. I don't care what party you're from. You represent the same number of people.
Right.
And everybody's representative should have a voice.
Right.
And that's not working.
Yeah, this idea that like, oh, we're in power, so we're going to crush and dominate is, I mean, you can do that, but you have to pay for that.
Correct.
At some point. And what we are paying for it when you see like just turmoil in society and like constant division. And then all you ever see in politics is the pendulum swinging back and forth and like no long-term wise solutions getting implemented for things. I mean,
so I had met this Senator Tony Bisignano from Des Moines, Democrat, one of the longest serving senators in the chamber today. He's an old style, what I call a Kennedy Democrat.
Okay.
These are type of people that you can negotiate with. We have probably more in common than we have differences. And I worked with him and I asked him, I said, would you write a discharge petition? Because I fully expected the Republicans to water down whatever we wrote. So I asked him would you write a discharge petition and make it strong?
Yeah.
And, maybe we would throw it on as an amendment or something. And so he went ahead and did that.
Okay. And
one day they brought up a rules change, and he had tried to get a hold of me and wasn't able to make contact with me. And he only told one Republican. And that Republican didn't tell any of the other Republicans. So when he dropped this on the floor, it caught him by surprise.
Yeah, so the Republicans all looked at it and said, a Democrat did this, and we always say no to everything the Democrats say.
Exactly. So there was this mass
read it properly.
There was this mass confusion.
Okay.
But we had 4 senators that did vote for it.
Interesting.
And that was Kevin Alonz, Doug Campbell, Rocky DeWitt, who's since passed, and Sandy Salmon, of course.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, there's your leaders.
Yeah.
Because our truly conservative group, we have these truly conservative senators, but they didn't really have that one leader, especially on this eminent domain issue.
It's kind of hard because we've had to come awake to this reality that as freedom-loving Americans, we don't in my view, we've had to use the Republican Party vehicle to get, just to protect ourselves. Yeah. But I don't think these people really the people with the most influence at the top of the Senate in Washington, the Senate in Des Moines. I just am not confident that they're liberty minded, that they're really the sort of people that are like the signers of the Declaration of Independence, where I pledge to you my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. I think they're kind of just power players.
Yes, I would agree. Yeah. And it's really bad. In the Senate, especially, they vastly outnumber our really good, solid, conservative Republicans. And so,
how does it come to that? Because I think everybody loves to say, we know it's not. I'm not a Republican Democrat person. Well, I say that too, but then I look at the Democrats and I'm like, these people are socialists, and I've read about the Bolsheviks, and they all said this stuff too, and it sounds the same to me. And I'm I'm not going down that route. So how did we get here, and what do we do?
The myth is that the Democrats are all one group, and I promise you, they're every bit as divided as the Republicans.
That's okay. Good point.
There are Democrats that are fed up with the liberal wing of their party.
Okay.
That don't feel like they have a voice because the extreme left has taken over their party.
But they probably look at Republicans the same way I look at the Democrats, and they're like,
they have
these
a
people they're trying to take over.
Yes.
Trump's a fascist. Yeah.
yes. And but when you get down to their core beliefs, let's face it, John Kennedy was not overly liberal. If you look at...
by today's standards, he would be like a far-right extremist.
Exactly.
CNN would hate him.
Exactly. Well, if you look at the fiscal policies of Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump, those guys didn't make those fiscal policies up. They are completely stolen from John Kennedy.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
The lower taxes to increase revenue, that was all John Kennedy's.
Kennedy. Wow.
Yes. And if you look back, both Ronald Reagan and Trump were Democrats.
That's what's so funny.
I'm almost ashamed to say that I've always been a Republican. I was a independent for a long time because I didn't like what the Republicans were doing. I still identified with most of the beliefs of what the Republicans
that's what I did for
say
a long
they
time
believe
too.
in.
I was registered as an independent, and then I figured out I got to get in this fight, and the party vehicles are what we have to fight on, and so I got to pick a side, and the Republican side was where I most aligned with.
And the Democrats are the same way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Democrats. Because I became the liaison between the Senate Republicans and the Senate Democrats, because it is so toxic in the Iowa Senate that those senators could not talk to each other without their parties judging them, especially on the Republican side. So I was doing most all of the communication back and forth. We came up with we had a bill that passed the House overwhelmingly, House File 639, and they actually gave it a committee meeting.
What was it?
639 was actually like 9 or 10 bills, but it basically got rid of the basic gist was it got rid of the eminent domain threat.
Okay.
It did it in several steps rather than just plain simple language, but that's what we were told they wanted. So we did have a bill that was just plain no eminent domain, and the Senate didn't pick that one up. They picked up 639, and then they basically struck everything in 639 and wrote their own bill, which was I've worked also in a lot in South Dakota. Same process. Summit was behind. The Summit Carbon Solutions was behind all of this.
Okay. And they've got a pretty influential lobby, especially in the Iowa Senate.
LS2 is the largest lobby firm down there, and that's who they hire, and they're very effective. They're good at what they do.
Okay.
So they picked up 639, and Kevin Alon's built a coalition of 12 senators, Republican senators. They call them the Dauntless Dozen.
Yeah. Love the Dauntless Dozen.
So we had the Dauntless Dozen, and we had the Democrats willing to support the original version of 639. So,
and how many senators? Do we have 50 senators in Iowa?
Yes.
So there's 12, and then 30-some Democrats. Is it? They must
No,
have...
there's 12 Republicans that are the Dauntless Dozen, and then there's 20 other Republicans. We'll call them establishment Republicans.
Sure. Okay.
Who are
50, yeah. So anyway, I was just trying to get the math, and so how many total there were with the Democrats and these 12 Republicans.
Yeah.
So the Republicans, the Dauntless Dozen, defied their own party.
They defied their own party, but we actually had more Democrats voting for this bill than we had Republicans.
Interesting.
So yes, and so we put this coalition together, and I'm talking to Kevin Alonz, and he goes, I need somebody with more skill than I have on the technical side of how you play the game. So as on technical ways to to manipulate the system to get your bill where it needs to be.
To the point where it can be voted on. Yeah.
So I go, you know what? I got a guy. I got an attorney. He works for the ACLU. His name is just went blank. Sorry.
Yeah, it's crazy though. ACLU. Again, the friends that you come up with are like not the people that I would think to call.
He's a brilliant attorney. I really need to give him credit for that.
Well, it'll come to you.
Yeah. So at 11 o'clock at night, he calls me back, and I get him with Kevin Alonz, and it was probably a little after midnight on a Friday night. He showed him how to do a strike-all amendment on the amendment that they had added to gut this.
This is all in the depths of Senate rules and how the legislator works. It's like it's so frustrating to me that this.
He was able to strike all of his language and take it back to the original bill.
Okay.
So this happens. I mean, the establishment is mad. They are infuriated.
He's just slap in the face, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So they're like, you just killed the bill. Won't come to the floor. So then the Dauntless Dozen said, we will not vote for the budget until you bring 639 to the floor.
Yeah. And that's kind of like from the old Jim Carlin heartbeat bill days that was the leverage that him and his group pulled to bring it and it's so frustrating because all they're asking for is we want to bring this for a vote. And the leadership is so stubborn. No, we're not even going to allow you to vote on this.
Yes.
And the people's representatives need to be able to vote.
Right. And that's the whole idea of a republic is that your representatives are able to vote. And if you have somebody obstructing that,
right,
that just completely flies in the face of what our forefathers stood for. So we got the that we were able to force the vote, and it passed. And of course, it went to the governor.
So did a bunch of these Republicans who weren't for it, did they vote for it, or was it only the Dauntless Dozen and the Democrats?
We had 2 other Republicans that voted for it.
That hopped on board. Okay, interesting. So
Julie,
it was like 28 to 22 or something.
It was 27 to
23.
23.
Okay, or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's what it ended up being.
Interesting.
And we had 1 Democrat that voted against it.
Okay.
You know.
Interesting. I mean, it's like, that's how, you would think a functional, like, cooperative group of people would operate. It's like, well, yeah, there's like, for the specifics of how something works for our state, there are going to be some Democrats that fall on one side, Republicans. Like, I mean, it would, in a healthy.
This is an 80% issue.
Among the people, yeah.
Among the people,
Right.
It's an 80% issue. It's not an 80-20 issue. It's an 80% that are opposed to eminent domain for this process.
Yeah.
And a large portion of the 20% are undecided.
Yeah.
So this is overwhelmingly unpopular.
So can you just, like, why is it that much of a problem? To what degree is this just about money? Is it, and I'm sure it's probably all intermingled together, but is it spiritual? Like, is there people, like, I mean, are these just wicked people?
So no, they are not just wicked people. They are people who are misguided, but I wouldn't necessarily classify them as wicked.
Okay.
Maybe the product of what they're doing is wicked, but
that's what I'm asking. Is it spiritual? Because, like, they're trying to maybe in their own minds do the best thing, but somehow through them they're like defying 80% of the voter base for one company to benefit. Is like, I mean, what's the big deal here?
One of the senators literally made the comment that we will force prosperity down these people's throat.
Jeez.
which is actually an indirect quote from a communist leader.
Yeah. Trotsky or somebody. We're going to force you to be prosperous. Now give us all your property.
And the thing is, Nebraska has put in a pipeline all the way across their state.
A CO2 pipeline.
A CO2 pipeline.
Okay.
They converted a natural gas pipeline to CO2.
Okay.
They did not use any eminent domain.
They just went and negotiated with property owners, said, hey, can we run through here?
Well, in this conversion, the easement was already there.
Of course. Okay.
And so that is the really bizarre thing about this. And when you talk
why
about
can't they just go negotiate a deal?
When you talk about the evil part of this, Iowa at one time had more miles of pipeline per square mile than any other state. I don't think that's quite the case now, but we have a lot of pipelines.
With just oil and natural gas and a whole bunch of different things.
Yes. Okay. And most all of your easements, there's room for 3 pipes on every one of those easements.
Okay.
We know one thing. Every single one of these ethanol plants has at least one easement going to their plant, and a lot of them have 2.
There's an easement everywhere you see a power line, right? There's easements everywhere.
So there was no need for them to actually do any eminent domain, because they could have bought these easements from these existing pipeline companies.
Okay. So
they trade all the time.
Why not do that?
I don't know. That's the part that, if you want to talk about evil, I firmly believe that, yes, they wanted to have this battle on eminent domain. Mm-hmm. And it had to have been for something even more worse than a CO2 pipeline.
Basically, to prove that eminent domain can be used for a private corporation. Yep. And if you can prove that in Iowa, Iowa's first in the nation.
Yep.
I mean, okay. I mean, it's another thing. Like,
they wanted a legal precedent.
Got it.
And I think they thought that they were going to be able to do this fast.
Quick,
and
just,
because Summit was paying 100% of the easement up front. Industry never does that. They pay, 25 to 35% up front. And then if they get all their permits and everything, then they usually pay in about 3 installments. Mm-hmm. And no, Summit paid 100%. once you sign that paper. So they were in this fast. They were going to do it fast. Bruce Rastetter, who's a major owner of Summit.
Yeah. Top Republican donor in Iowa.
Donor in Iowa, a major player in both North Dakota and South Dakota. Gave $1 million for the governor's gala after Kristi Noem won her governor's bid. I mean, this guy's a major political force.
Yeah.
And he wanted the ability to have eminent domain. That is worrisome. And that's really the only reason I'm in this fight.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-pipeline.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-eminent domain when it's used for the right purposes.
I mean, here, this is America. You get to have your own property here.
Yes.
And yes, we have a provision for the public good, but a private company is not the public good. Just deal with it.
I was involved in a debate in South Dakota. Trent Luce and I went up against a manager of an ethanol plant and one of their state legislators. And at the beginning, I said, it takes a lot of courage to come here and to tell you that your state ag community can't be successful without a federally subsidized landfill, because that's all sequestration is. It's a landfill. We're pumping CO2 into the ground.
I just can't believe
we're taking a valuable commodity.
Their best idea.
We're going to pump it into the ground. And
I'll never forget the first time Mark Cisneros explained it to me. I'm like, they're doing what? He's like, I know. It's insanity.
It is.
And your tax dollars are going to pay for it. And your legal system is going to be used to take the property from the people to do it.
And the funny part is they like to compare it. Early on, they like to compare it to plants. Well, plants sequester carbon.
Oh, of course.
Well, yes, plants sequester carbon, but they give off the oxygen. They divide the CO2. So when you sequester both the carbon and the oxygen, you're not changing the ratio any, because when they say that the CO2 is increasing, well, if something increases as a percentage, something has to decrease. What's decreasing is the oxygen, because it's combining with the carbon.
See, that's why I think this whole thing is there is some just misguided but well-meaning people, but then just the insanity of the idea and how there are no winners. Nobody wins except maybe Summit Pipeline or something, but the people don't win. The state doesn't win. The corn farmers, corn needs CO2 in the atmosphere. When a plant grows, right, the mass that is increased is from the carbon that it absorbs, right?
Right.
So when it burns, it puts the CO2 back into the air, which then new plants can use to grow again.
It's a continual cycle.
We're farmers, and we're taking away the most important resource our plants need to grow.
And we've seen this before. My dad owned a fertilizer business, and he said, for years and years we'd test for sulfur, but we never sold any sulfur. And he goes, then they started putting those scrubbers on the coal plants, and he goes, well, the test would show that we needed 2 pounds of sulfur, and then it was 5 pounds, and then it was 10 pounds.
So sulfur would mix with whatever the nitrogen or whatever the fertilizer was.
Well, we were adding sulfur to the fertilizer because when they put the scrubbers in, they were taking it out, and we weren't getting it for free anymore.
Oh, okay.
So we went from getting free sulfur to now we get to buy sulfur.
Now we get to buy. Thanks. Yeah.
And and there's nothing wrong. I don't want pollution.
Yeah.
But there's also this isn't a solution. But what that pipeline, the whole purpose of the pipeline is to create a monopoly. Because what people don't realize is this CO2 is biological CO2. It is between 98 and 99% pure. Industry standard for CO2 is between 10 to 12% pure.
Oh, really?
Yes. So this is like the holy grail of
and
CO2.
There's surely tons of industrial things that could use this stuff, right?
A lot of things, yes. And in fact, one of the things that...
I want to pipe it into the ground. evil.
Well, they're only going to do that for a while. They will be able to pay.
They'll find something.
They'll get a free pipeline out of this deal.
Okay, and then they got some plan. Okay.
But we've taken all of these independent ethanol plants, and we've allowed one man to control the CO2, which is a third of the corn that goes to those ethanol plants.
Okay.
It's brilliant. I mean, in a diabolical way.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
The fact that they were able to put this all together with the federal government, with North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, and get this all lined up. This is, you talk about 3D chess. This is at least 3D chess, maybe more.
Yeah.
And to put this all together, it just amazes me. I mean, that I am amazed at because this has been in the planning works for 20 years.
I mean, so do you think like Bruce Rafstetter somewhere sat and like concocted this plan in his like evil fortress in the mountain somewhere, or is there more to it than that?
I think Bruce was a cog in that wheel.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a big.
But his political connections, the money that he's invested in politicians, because let's face it, you aren't donating, you're buying, maybe renting, I don't know, but either way, it's not good. But when this was the long-term plan, there was like, they admitted in under testimony in North Dakota that they'd been working on this for 20 years. That's
20 years
to put all this together and to have it all hit at one time, and they came really close. The fact that we were able to stop a company of this size is truly amazing. Now it's not done, but this thing was supposed to already be pumping CO2.
Well, and here's the thing that I mean, I love what you guys have done in the legislature and everything, but anytime I talk to somebody from a county, I'm like, this is just blatantly unconstitutional.
Yes.
Like, right? And under both Iowa law and federal law, it is a felony to deprive someone of their constitutional rights. So here's the other strategy. If you're in a county and you want to fight this, get a sheriff elected and get a county attorney elected that will prosecute people for taking constitutional rights from your property owners, right? Like, I mean, that's the nuclear option, right? But too bad. Like these people
in our county, in Woodbury County, all pipelines have to get a conditional use permit.
Okay.
And we have companies that are threatening to go around county zoning. Mm-hmm. In fact, we have a court case going on right now where a company is doing that. They went straight to the IUC and they're ignoring the county. Mm-hmm. My sheriff has said, if they don't have a conditional use permit, I will stop them.
Yeah.
I will.
That's as a constitutional sheriff should do.
Yes.
That is the duty of a sheriff.
Yes.
Our liberties we prize and our rights we will maintain.
And that sheriff is the most important constitutional officer in every county.
Yeah, the sheriff is, but you also need a county attorney to criminally charge these people. Because it's like, too bad. Like, you want to do this? Like, fine. And like, I've been through the legal process. The process is the punishment. And then after you get convicted, the punishment starts after that too.
Yes.
Like,
yes. Yeah, it's a double whammy.
Yeah. But I mean, these straight-laced corporate attorneys and lobbyists and things like that, like when all of a sudden what they're doing amounts to conspiracy to deprive an Iowan of constitutional rights, which is a felony, like all of a sudden you get picked up and thrown in the county jail and like, no, well, you're going to sit there until you get arraigned. Which, that there could be a lot of delays. Our legal process, the wheels of justice turn slowly.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they can take a long time. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's just that. To me, that's just where we're at. If we're going to prize our liberties, if we're going to maintain our rights, we got to have. I would much rather do it the polite way. Like, let's work this out like adults. But if you're just going to try to use every trick in the book to try to manipulate us into this, well, fine. We'll go nuclear.
Yeah. Well, Steve King and I have had conversations where, when you look at our backgrounds being as diverse as they are, it's almost like God put us in different situations so we could be prepared for this. Mm-hmm. I was a whistleblower when I was a banker. I went through banking backward. I started with the large loans. My first loan was a $3 million loan to a feedlot.
Okay.
I was 25, 26 years old.
Just in Moleville?
in Sioux City.
Oh, Sioux City. Okay, so
Yeah.
you local bank there, or was it a big
It
bank?
was First Star Bank.
Okay.
It was 17th largest bank in the nation at the time.
Okay, so big bank actually.
I'm flying. I'm having a blast.
Yeah, making deals.
You bet.
Mid-20s.
You bet. I'm selling money. What better thing to sell, right?
Okay, yeah.
And we were able to access a secondary market so we could undercut every one of our competitors for good credit. And I mean, this is fun.
Yeah.
I'm having a blast.
Yeah.
Well,
Just a
the bank
market
that
maker,
owned us was out of Milwaukee, and they were playing fast and loose with the credit. We had a small portion of business with him, and then he had an investor program. We had about $17 million out to the investor program. There were 77 investors and about $26 million worth of cattle in that investor program. Turns out he was kiting.
Oh no!
The bank knew he was kiting. The bank was helping him kite.
No.
I was responsible for doing the write-up for our small amount to him. And they said, well, you just take our write-up and then do yours. So I had their write-up. And there was this flow chart, and it didn't make any sense at the time, but it showed the money. It was just a big circle. I'm like,
what the heck's going on here?
This doesn't make any sense. And I knew it was bad.
Good small town. Like now, if you had been to MBA school and all this stuff, you'd have had the sense not to ask any questions. But common sense, small town Iowa says this is a circle.
So I'm trying to talk my boss into selling our loan, what we had. I'm like, it's time to get out of this. Well, didn't matter because the thing collapsed.
Oh no!
We get the phone call, and so I became a whistleblower. And smuggled the documents out that proved that the bank knew, took them to an agent for the investors and said, go sue them.
Oh, wow.
2 RICO lawsuits.
Because you had tried to go through the civilized way.
Yes.
Like, hey, listen,
Yes.
like we need to fix this. They refused.
And finally, I was working because this was large enough. There was $50 million missing. The bank was looking at a $22 million hit. They had to do an SEC filing. This was big enough. I mean, this was a big deal.
Yeah.
And
back then, I mean, what?
So
in today's dollars, that's probably 120 million or something. Yeah.
I'm frantically working to get them a complete inventory of all of his cattle, regardless of who had them financed, so that they can figure out where they are from an asset base. And because not only did they have all this, but they were essentially unsecured.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, how to do something wrong 101 in banking.
That was it.
And so 2 RICO cases came out of this. I spent 18 hours under oath.
Wow.
So.
Oh, there's criminal charges on this.
Yes. So at one point I irritated the people that were handling, and I did not know how high up they were. I did not know they were board members in the bank. I probably wouldn't have been quite as arrogant and lip off to them as much. But I had gotten all this information together. I faxed it to them at like 3:30 in the morning. And they were laughing at me because I was at the bank at 3:30 in the morning. And I'm like, I'm just trying to do my job.
Yeah.
So I send this.
And your own board members are mocking you.
Yes. And I set them up so that they could talk to this agent with the investors, and they're trying to talk him into helping them force the creditor or the borrower into bankruptcy. And I made the comment, you need an attorney. Do not listen to these guys, get an attorney. And they didn't like that. So we had a conversation afterwards where they're chewing me out.
Yeah.
And they literally told me what they were going to do, and their intention was to legally steal these $26 million worth of cattle that these 77 investors own. And my thought was, this is where we part company.
Yeah, I ain't doing that. Yeah.
So that's why I snuck the documents out and gave them to the agent. They intended
a secret agent type stuff. Yeah.
And I was scared. I mean,
this is how people disappear. Yeah.
This is the kind of money. And it wasn't until later that I found out that these guys, some of them were on the board, and I don't work for these guys anymore. Of course, I got fired.
Of course. Yeah. Obviously. Yeah.
And so that gave me a lot of preparation
Yeah.
At a young age. I cut my teeth young.
It's amazing how God like trains you and you don't even know what's going on. Yeah.
It is because I can remember before I worked there, I worked for the Sioux City Stockyards. Mm-hmm. And I had this opportunity. There was this iconic cattle buyer that was trying to hire me. Mm-hmm. And I thought, if I'm going to take that job, I ought to at least look. So this job at the bank came up. And I was kind of, which way do I go? And I prayed on it. Mm-hmm. And I kind of made my deal with God. I said, I'm going after the bank job. If I shouldn't have it, don't give it to me.
Okay.
And so I get the bank job. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, thank God, and I got a deal, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I do this job, and then boom, everything blows up, and I get fired. And I'm kind of like, I thought we had a deal.
Yeah, you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. Yeah.
And then I found out that if I'd taken the other job, he was working with the same man. It didn't matter which job I took. I was going to be involved in that deal. That's where God wanted me.
Yeah.
And
that's what you needed to, that you need to be there to learn that lesson, to go through that process, to see the kind of dirty underbelly of how these backroom deals can operate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've been in those rooms when people are deciding, people who don't own the asset are deciding who gets the asset and who doesn't. I don't like that.
The exact same thing that's happening right now.
Exactly.
With Iowans with their land having somebody else deciding who's going to get it.
Our legislature, our governor are giving away property rights that don't belong to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not only are they giving them away, they're selling them.
Well, that's the worst thing is like when it's just money.
Yes.
It's like, come on, guys.
And it's not that much money. It's one thing to be sold out, but I don't like being sold out for the cheap.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well at least get rich off it. Yeah. If you're going to be corrupt, you got to do a better job than that. That's just a classic Iowa, though. Like, of course, we take the worst deal if we're going to be.
Yeah. We take Iowa nice to an illogical conclusion.
I mean, we need to be like sophisticated like New York and like, I mean, we need to blow this thing out into the billions and trillions, like, anyway. But your dad farmed though?
My dad farmed
so you grew up on a farm.
Owned a fertilizer business.
Okay, and you still live on a farm, or is that okay? And you're
I'm fourth generation, and I'm bringing the fifth generation in.
And what do you guys? Can you like? I've always basically, so I think a lot. Like I am an Iowan. Every time the political cycles go around, I always hear about how we're all a bunch of farmers here. For one, I mean, Iowa's probably like 3% farmers.
Right, which is about double what the nation is.
Right. Which is fine. Like, I like to be a farm state. I think it's really cool. Like, we grow the world's food and, like, we feed the country. And, like, I love the beautiful countryside and all that. But, like, farming has such an influence on Iowa. And everybody on the outside looking in thinks that that's all we are. But something about me, I don't understand anything really about farming. Like, in terms of, like, how do people make money farming? How do we, like, I mean, I'm a business guy, but I always hear that it's hard to farm. I'm assuming that's right.
It is. It is. Sanity is not a requirement for this.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Tell us like what your farm's like, and I don't know, like I just learn something.
We have about 700 acres.
Okay.
And then always in the past that all went through cattle when I was actively farming. Then I had health problems and I couldn't do the work anymore, and I wasn't big enough to hire it done.
Okay.
So we rented the ground out for a period of time, and then my son, I never got rid of the equipment. I knew my youngest son wanted to farm, so I
rented
kept
it out
the equipment.
For somebody doing corn or soybeans or both. Yeah. Okay.
And we rented that out for probably a good 5-6 years.
Okay.
Maybe a little longer than that.
And for you guys, like, is the land passed down? Are you able to, like, do you own it free and cleared? Is that what family farms are? Like, you can pass it on to your son and he can own it?
We actually have more land free and clear nationwide than ever before in our history.
Iowa does.
The whole agricultural sector.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
But the part that's a little misleading on that is the fact that we have so much land that is owned outside of the farming community. A lot of it, women are the largest holders of land because it's widows and a lot of daughters who have inherited and things like that. So we have a lot of women that own land. They don't actively farm it in a lot of cases.
Lease it out or something? Or what,
to give you an idea, and these numbers are a little old, but I think they're probably still fairly accurate. 80% of agriculture's debt is held by 20% of the producers.
Oh.
So 20% of the producers don't own anywhere near 80% of the land. So in today's world...
Because I always hear like, oh yeah, these guys, they got $500,000 combines and they're in debt up to their eyeballs, but then they're too simple-minded to pay off their combine because they get tax benefits, and like, that's not really true.
Well, there's some of that,
okay.
Yes.
Farmers are like everybody else. There's good ones and bad ones. Okay.
Well, there is a lot of debt in agriculture. It's a very capital-intensive industry.
Okay.
With a very low return.
Okay.
In general.
Okay.
And what's happened is, when if you go back 30, 40, 50 years, we had all these small farms. When I first started working at the stockyards, pretty much every farm I pulled onto, there was this little stream running down the next to the driveway into the road ditch, and that was coming out of the farrowing house and the nursery, and everybody had some hogs, and that's what you use to pay for your electric bill, your living expenses. That they considered the hogs to be the mortgage lifters. And you fed cattle, and you used the money from the cattle to put the crop in. And that's kind of a lot of your older farms. That was the model of how they cash flowed.
Okay.
And my grandfather always told his kids, if you start selling grain, it's just a matter of time you're going to be selling the farm. Because never really was grain farming a viable model until we got government subsidies. We have a problem in our state with confusing economic efficiency and efficiency to extract government subsidy.
Okay.
And it's not just in agriculture.
That's economy-wide in America, right? Yeah.
So we have, and I can remember my cousin telling me I can make more money from the seat of my tractor than you can feeding those cattle. And the thing was he had crop insurance. I was taking way more risk than he was. The problem is when you take out the risk, you take away the margin.
Right. Yeah.
We have gotten row crop farming to the point where the way the industry looks at it is it's almost risk-free. You can literally insure your revenue. So the banks are willing to loan based off of the cash flow and not necessarily off the balance sheet. So some of these guys are carrying a lot of debt compared to what they're worth.
Okay.
Now, if they have a lot of real estate that they own, well, that real estate is appreciated a lot.
Yeah.
And
that's great. Yeah.
They're sitting pretty good from a debt to worth standpoint.
Yeah.
But what has happened is the banks have said, well, this cash flows. Why wouldn't we loan them money? So they have. And we've got a lot of farmers that are covering a lot of ground they don't own. We've got some very large farmers that own almost nothing. When I started a finance company after I worked at the bank for a group of co-ops. So my territory was basically Western Iowa. This was when farmers were just starting to really get into that bigger. I called on an account that was 15,000 acres. He owned 40. He didn't own anything else. He had a couple augers that he owned. He didn't own any tractors. None of the equipment was owned. It was all leased. He was financing the fertilizer at one place. He was financing the seed at another place. He was financing. Everybody was looking at the same equity. And when you put it all together, he didn't really have enough equity to be doing what he was doing.
But the banks would look at it as cash flow, and so they didn't care, and they're maybe not dotting their I's and crossing their T's.
Right. And as far as the bank was
so then this guy, one bad year, and he's toast.
Yep, and that's exactly what's happened.
Okay. So basically our farmers, a lot of them, get going, they get loans, and they're maybe running fine. Maybe they're talented people, but all it takes is one blip, and you're completely out of business, no assets, no nothing, starting from literally zero.
Yes.
You could have been doing it for 15, 20 years.
We have a certain number of people that are doing it that way, and the banks have allowed them to do it, but our good operators are competing with them.
Yeah.
So we have taken the crop insurance to the point where...
Is the crop insurance what's subsidized? Is that what the subsidy is?
That's the big part of the subsidy.
Is that what the farm bill is?
That's a big portion of it.
Okay.
I'm not a big expert on the farm program because I was never in it.
Oh.
I always figured I'd do something wrong and end up in jail. So I just said, no, I'm not doing it.
That's how I feel. And
at the time that I came back into farming full time, the rules were really strict, and I live in a very hilly area, and there were farms that weren't going to be able to comply, and there were farms so you had to decide, am I going to play the game or am I out? So there was opportunity both ways at the time.
Okay.
And a lot of times, father and a son, the father wouldn't be in the program, the son would.
Okay.
And very few are not in the program today.
Today, almost everybody is. And is it just economic pressure that forces you that way?
Well, part of it is you need to be in order to get the crop insurance, and most guys need the crop insurance.
You need crop insurance to get a loan because you can't get a combine without the loan, right?
Yeah. Well, you can't get your input loan.
For seed and okay. Well, what about that's one of the things that's so crazy to me is like this. I understand these seeds you have to buy every year. You can't, like it used to be farmers, like you just save part of your crop back and that's your seed for next year, but that doesn't work anymore.
Well, it doesn't work anymore for two reasons. Number one, they use hybrid seed now, and it is engineered. The way they breed it before GMO, even the way they bred it, the maximum yield was that last hybrid. So planting the corn from that isn't going to necessarily give you the most productive corn.
Okay.
So, but the other thing is now it's illegal.
Yeah, that's what bugs me. I heard about this guy, friend of a friend in Kansas, like old farmer, 80 some years old, ended up having. The way I heard the story was that he had seeds blow onto his land, or he didn't even know how they got there. Grew up, it was something patented by Monsanto or one of these big pioneers, somebody, and he ended up going to jail for it.
Yes.
Does that actually happen?
In rare cases, yes.
Like how could that? Like,
they were trying to make a point.
I mean, you got to get a jury to go along with that, right?
It's crazy, to think that the product that you raised isn't yours. And I can understand. I can understand if he had bought the seed, but the fact that it was pollinated by something else, no, come on. The pollination, that stuff can go for 5 miles. The wind can blow that pollen all over the place.
But that does, crazy things like that happen, and it's because so the government will protect the intellectual property of these big corporations that own whatever strain of hybrid or whatever, which must be purchased now because you must have that level of yield, because you have to have that yield to get the cash flow to get the loan.
Yep. See, now soybeans. You could bin run soybeans, just take them out. You could replant them, and those are the ones that they really look for. They try and audit guys when they see they keep track. You're supposed to have a number for when you buy it, and it's big money. It's really big money.
So is there a pathway for farmers to become more autonomous and more independent? Is anybody trying to do that,
there's still what they call open pollinated corn, which is the old varieties, and those were the ones where they would save certain kernels that were more ideal, and you could almost. My understanding, you could almost program your corn to be best productive on your land.
That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the old timers used to do, but the yield isn't as good. Now, some diseases it's actually more resistant to,
which would make sense.
So I mean, there's a lot of different trade-offs.
Okay.
But it is difficult. I just came yesterday. I was at a regenerative ag seminar where they're talking about ways of practices that we can do to make us less reliant on fertilizer. You know, I said my dad was sold fertilizer. In the time that I've been alive, we've probably increased our yields by at least 150%. In that time, I don't begin to put the amount of fertilizer on that my dad used to sell.
Really?
We're raising way more product
with less
fertilizer. With the exception of nitrogen.
Okay.
Probably nitrogen and phosphate. I might put on more. Well, Dad used to put on a lot of phosphate too, but especially like potassium and some of those other things. I don't begin to put on what he put on. But part of that was the ground was depleted. And I've got soil tests to prove over a pretty big area that you take soil tests today, our ground it does have more of the nutrients in it.
It does.
Than what it did in the 1970s.
Really? Well, how is that? Is it because we rotate? We're smarter about rotating, or how?
We've been putting the fertilizer on, you know.
Oh, okay, and that's making a difference over time. It is actually helping the soil.
So a lot of what my dad was putting on back in the 70s and 80s was to build it back up to an ideal. And once you get it there, then you're basically just putting a maintenance on.
It can maintain, because you can maintain the beans and the corn, and that will do a lot of, if not all the work, a lot of the work to just. And
what we're studying now is my dad, we've known for a long time that there are microbes in the soil, and actually the microbes do a big part of making the fertilizer that we put on available to the plant. So, I mean, they're a necessary part of this. And now what we're trying to do is, what do we do so that we're not hurting the microbes, number one? What do we do to encourage the microbes?
To get them to help us, yeah.
You know, and of course, we're dealing with microscopic organisms. So it's not easy for a farmer just in the field to know exactly what we're doing there.
And that's what's like, I mean, so will we come to a place in Iowa again, or in the United States, where we have farmers that are like, I think the ideal that, at least that I have, I think a lot of people have this, is like, oh, we have a community and all the farms around the community provide all the, most or all of the food that the community eats. And, they rotate crops into these pretty like painting.
Well, here's the deal. You get what you subsidize.
Okay.
And as long as we're subsidizing large farms, we're going to get large farms.
Okay. So the government, through crop insurance?
That's the big one.
That's the big one.
There are other subsidies. There's, it's baffling to me. Supposedly we're trying to raise the price of corn. But yet we pay these people based on bushels and acres. How does that, that incentivizes production, not increase. And incentivizing production doesn't incentivize raising the price.
Yeah, if you want to raise economically, reduced supply, price goes up, right?
We don't have a price problem. We have a margin problem.
Yeah, okay.
I don't care what the price is. It's irrelevant. All I care is
the margin. Okay.
Is the margin between the two.
What can be done to get the margin up?
Well, I think a big part of it is, as long as we're subsidizing it in the way that we're doing, that's what's lowering our margin. I've got a good friend that works for a bank, and he goes, we really need higher interest rates because the cash rents won't come down.
Yeah.
And I said, why do you think we need higher interest rates? Well, then it would force them to lower the cash rent. I said, we used to have banks that used to say no. And then that's what lowered the rent.
Yeah.
And And he, of course, he didn't like that comment too much because it's like,
yeah, somebody else needs to change. I don't need to change.
It's your job to say no when it doesn't make sense anymore. But it goes back to that 80% of the producers, 80% of the debt being held by 20% of the producers. Mm-hmm. If the vast majority of your land is rented and the bank tells you, no, we're not going to pay that, you're no longer a farmer.
Right.
Because there's somebody else that'll come in and pay that. Mm-hmm. So, and if you don't have land backing the loan, then you just killed the operation.
Yeah.
So we've created a system where they can't say no. This is the game, and the margin just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So what we designed to limit risk has gone to an extreme to where the margin is so low that we're actually increasing
now
risk.
We've made, like, instead of a bunch of little risks all over, spread over a bunch of farms, now the entire industry is just under this crushing burden of risk.
Yes.
Which sounds about like every other industry we have.
Now, I can tell you that probably our wealthiest ag county is Sioux County.
Okay.
Sioux County also has the smallest average farm size.
Oh, really?
So when you take their ag sales for the county and divide it by their acres, they're grossing about $30,000 or $10,000 an acre.
Okay.
Most of these counties don't get 1,000.
Really? So everybody, if you're interested in making money farming, needs to go to Sioux County and start asking questions.
Exactly. The model is there.
What are they doing?
A lot of livestock. They produce so much. They're their largest cattle feeders. They're their largest hog producers.
Are these big hog confinements and big cattle yards? Or it's not pasture. It's
no.
Okay.
And it's very expensive ground. Some of the most expensive ground in the state, and for corn ground, it's some of the most expensive in the nation.
Okay.
I mean, they've had ground bring over $30,000 an acre.
Okay.
For farming. And a big part of that is they need the room for manure. They actually export manure. They get paid for their manure.
Wow.
But they add value to everything. But the other thing when you go up there is there's all sorts of industry.
Okay.
So they're large cattle feeders. Well, guess what? They've got places there that made the feed wagons, that the manufacturers,
it's like a self-contained, productive, efficient, like synergistic community.
So my office was in Sioux Center when I ran the finance company, and the co-op in Sioux Center did an economic study, and for every steer and heifer fed in the county, it brought $700 to the downtown.
Interesting.
So that was at a time when you had to feed cattle really big, make them big, and get a good price to get $1,000 a head. But that's the multiplier effect. Now, that won't happen in every county because not every county has the things in downtown to sell.
Right.
So Sioux County is unique in that case, but the formula is there. We don't have to create the formula. We need to duplicate. And it goes back to the same thing with the CO2. We need to add value to that CO2. We shouldn't, as far as I'm concerned, if I could just, magically make the rules, I would put the biggest tariff on all corn and soybeans that left the state as corn and soybeans. Because I make a comparison to Africa. If you look at natural resources, Africa is by far the wealthiest continent in the world with natural resources. Obviously, we know they are not the wealthiest continent.
Yeah, the people aren't wealthy,
But if you take all of the GDPs of all the African countries and add them together, it's 57% of Japan's GDP. Japan has almost no natural resources. They add value to other people's natural resources.
Right. Capital goods.
Wealth isn't really made in creating the natural resource, it's in adding value. And it goes back to what my grandfather told his sons. When you start selling the grain, sooner or later, you'll be selling the farm because the real wealth was made in adding value to the crop.
Yeah. Huh.
And what we've allowed to happen is we've allowed, especially like in the hog and poultry, we subsidized the row crop farming. We took the risk out of it. So more and more farmers just kept going to row crop. And then we've had corporate America come in and take over the poultry and the hogs especially.
Yeah.
And those were some of the most profitable.
Those are the high margin.
Those are the high margins. So our farmers are taking over the lowest margin part of the industry, and the high profit centers are going to corporate America.
Got it.
And we have laws against this, but we're not enforcing them.
Oh, so part of it's enforcement. But is it part of it that like a farmer does have to decide, right? I'm going to fight to get into running cattle or pigs or whatever, right? Like,
well, right now
that might take a lot of work.
It's really difficult to raise hogs without a contract because you have a hard time getting somebody to kill them.
Okay.
Cattle are a lot harder because you have to own so much land. I mean, to truly take over the cattle industry like they did the hogs is a lot more difficult, but they are still working at it. And what they do is they do contracts with these large packers so that there's only when it comes time to bid for the cattle, there's a smaller amount of their kill is already set up.
Okay.
So they're just buying that extra that they can make a little more money with, but they don't have to go out and bid nearly as aggressively.
But that would be another thing, like you're saying about doing a lot more self-contained stuff if you were going to get into hogs or cows or whatever, if you can either have a partner or do it yourself where you're killing them and making the meat and all that, like, well, that's adding margin, right?
But we have a lot of laws that make it so difficult to sell that product.
Okay.
We have both the USDA.
Oh, yeah, because you can't just buy from a farmer. You had to buy a quarter of a cow. You can't just buy like, I want a pound of hamburger from a farmer.
No, in general, there are some farmers that are getting set up to do some things like that, but there's a lot of regulation. Like if they're state inspected, even though the state inspectors will run under the same rules as the federal, can't cross state line. Well, we need the states to get together. And I have had conversations with other state representatives that we need to get the states together to accept each other's standards.
Yeah.
And we do have the legal right to do that. The federal government can't stop us from doing that.
Like, I understand like that's probably the wisest way to do it. We could probably work with Nebraska easier than we can work with Washington, D.C. But like that is the entire job of the federal government is to make that work. And I mean, they're in a state of disaster and whatever. Okay, we got to do it ourselves. But like, it's frustrating to me that
I would like to see our state have a nullification committee within the legislature where they look at federal laws and say, we're going to nullify that.
Yeah, tell me how would that work?
In my mind, and it's just a pipe dream is all it is that
some of the best ideas start that way.
The committee would say, because basically nowhere in the Constitution does it give the right of interpreting the Constitution solely to the courts.
No, yeah.
It's actually the responsibility of everybody who raises their hand and takes that oath.
And our federal courts actually have in recent history, a track record of just absolute contempt for the Constitution.
Yes. And I think that if the state would sit there and have a nullification committee so that every new law that came out, they would look at it and they'd say, yeah, that's really nice. I'm glad you passed that. But guess what? Yeah. In Iowa, we are not going to allow you to enforce that.
We're going to interpret that as in violation of the 10th Amendment, which obviously is. 10th Amendment is unless the Constitution specifically grants authority to the federal government, it is forbidden to the federal government and given to the states and to the people. It'd be totally legal. It'd actually be a much more faithful representation or adherence to constitutional law than what we have coming out of Washington, D.C., and specifically what we have coming out of the federal courts.
Well, when the 17th Amendment took away the state's choice to choose the Senate,
that was bad.
We
news.
seriously lost states' rights.
Yeah.
And when you lose states' rights, it's, it goes down the chain as you lose states' rights, because right now, this is something that I especially see in the Iowa Senate. Mm-hmm. There's this visceral hatred for local government.
Yeah, why? That's actually one of the biggest things that is driving people to vote for Rob Sand, because of Republican just will to dominate local. Like, for what? Let the counties run themselves. Let the cities run themselves. I understand if they're abusing it and we got to have some regulatory stuff over it. That's fine, but
we have about 20 state senators who firmly believe that they have done just fabulous things for the state. And when you have senators leaving, it's nauseating. It is. They will have this period where they sit and brag about each other. Oh, geez. And it's like somebody's going to break an arm patting themselves on the back.
Like the emperor has no clothes, and they're all complimenting. They're like, "Oh, your robe is so nice."
they have this belief that they have just created this utopia. We lowered the tax rate to 3.8%. Mm-hmm. Okay, you pump $1.5 billion into the state economy, mm-hmm. and the GDP went down. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not an accomplishment. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is not. I would be impressed if the GDP went up and you did that, but the end result was not what you thought it was going to be. Stop bragging about yourself. Mm-hmm. You did it wrong.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
And they are so out of touch. And I think there's a serious disconnect mm-hmm. between Zach Lane, mm-hmm. who is talking about topics that these 20 senators don't want talked about.
Right. Yeah.
But that's what the people want to talk about.
Yeah.
These senators live in this echo chamber, and they're out of touch.
Yeah.
They're out of touch on the pipeline. Mm-hmm. They're out of touch on local control. Mm-hmm. They've been trying to pass. A law that would give them complete ability to decide where the wind turbines go.
I mean, that's insanity.
It is.
Like Des Moines. It gives really good credibility to the people who argue that the Republicans are just as corrupt as the Democrats, because it's a total betrayal of what we're all about. This is what we started talking about, which is it doesn't really matter if you're Republican or Democrat. Are you liberty-minded? Are you for life, liberty, pursuit of happiness? Are you for the Constitution? Are you,
Well, and it's like I tell people, if we don't clean our own party up, mm-hmm. the other side will do it for us.
Yeah.
And that is a big part of our problem. And, we like to talk about how liberal the Democrats are and how they like welfare. And it's like, Republicans like welfare. Yeah. They just don't believe poor people should get it. Yeah. They like to give it to rich people. I mean, when Warren Buffett is one of your largest welfare recipients, right. Elon Musk is one of our largest welfare recipients. Before, Ted Turner owned 85% of the buffalo herd. Mm-hmm. Buffalo at that time was the largest subsidized industry in the country. Gee, I wonder how that happened.
Right.
Right. This buying influence and then pretending that you're conservative. I tell people that we have Republicans that are woke.
For sure.
They identify as conservative. They use the term conservative as their pronoun, but they're not conservative. And the worst part is when you take this phony conservatism and you combine it with austerity, they just want to cut local government. They want to cut spending. They don't ever actually cut spending at the state level, but they're putting caps.
Take more and more control. Yeah.
On everybody else. Somebody who has a $1.5 billion budget deficit should not be telling anybody how to spend money.
Yeah.
They are sad to say, the Republicans have not handled our money well. Mm-hmm. So when our governor thought she was going to be vice president. Mm-hmm. They really pushed this plan their goal was to eliminate the income tax. Mm-hmm. So they cut it down to, I believe it's 3.8%. Yeah. Okay.
I actually really appreciated that for my own taxes, but I understand it hasn't exactly paid off in the way we thought. Yeah.
So they had the taxpayer relief fund, mm-hmm. and the vast majority of the money that's in there, I mean vast majority, is COVID money.
Okay.
And so they came up with an economic plan and did some forecasts that we were going to spend $1.6 billion of that taxpayer relief fund, and we were going to use that to fund the government while we cut these taxes. And their belief was that over a period of years that the revenue would go up because we lowered the taxes.
Which there is some historical precedent for that, right?
On the federal level, yes. Yeah. On the state level, not so much. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, it's called the Laffer curve, and it's shaped like a upside down bell.
Okay.
And in order for that to work, you have to be on the right side of the Laffer curve. They didn't do the research. It's not easy. I'll grant that. It's not easy. Mm-hmm. They didn't do the research to find out if they were actually on the right side of the Laffer curve. Mm-hmm. We will never know if they were on the right side of the Laffer curve because they lowered it so far, so fast mm-hmm. that if we were on the right side of the Laffer curve, it doesn't matter. We blew right through it, and we ended up on the left side. So we have cut revenue. The original projection for 26 was that we would take $350 million out of the taxpayer relief fund.
Okay.
We ended up taking 1.5. Well, that fund, the whole deficit, 1.5 million. It's somewhere around 1.2, I believe.
Came out of the relief fund.
Out of the relief fund.
Yeah. Okay. And the total budget is for the states like $9 billion, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're talking 10-15%. Well over 10, around 15% of our budget that
we're living on borrowed time or borrowed money.
Yes,
basically.
And it's one-time money.
Yeah.
And the problem is we gave this tax cut. So if you want to go to 0%, everybody's like, well, we'll lower the top rate. No. You raise the bracket. You raise the 0% bracket so that everybody gets the exact same cut. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you just lower the top rate, all they did was give money to the wealthy.
Give money to the wealthy, yeah.
The problem is most of the wealthy that are in that tax bracket, their lifestyles, it is what it is. If you give them more money, they don't spend it.
Yeah, it's going in the stock market. And
exactly.
That's New York. And
so they basically exported that capital out. And that's why when they threw this $1.5 billion injection into the state, they gave it to the wrong people. They took the money outside.
Yeah.
So there wasn't anything to multiply within our economy.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's come back to what we were talking about. I'm wondering if I try to always look at the lens of okay, we're a nation of destiny. I think God has a purpose for America, and a fundamental thing that we have to have is we the people, I think, are going to have to come back together. Yep. And maybe part of what the story he's telling us is as the pendulum keeps swinging back and forth and our problems don't really get solved by Republicans or Democrats, maybe we're just going to have to come back together as a people and start talking about stuff, working problems out.
Yes. And I think the people are going to be fed up with this partisanship. Mm-hmm. I do think as the older generation dies off, that the younger generation is not nearly as loyal to these parties.
Yeah.
And registered independents just keep growing and growing and growing. I told somebody, I think the people who are registered Republicans, Democrats should be able to vote in the primary, and only the independents should be able to vote in the general election.
Yeah, pick one or the other. That's an interesting idea. Yeah.
Because, to go back to the majority leader, none of these parties, when you add the independents in, these parties aren't majorities. They don't represent the majority. Why are we giving a party where when you add the whole party up, it isn't a majority? Why are we giving them this much power?
It's so frustrating because it's like every step along the way I can understand. Oh, I can understand why we did that. Oh, I can understand why that rule's there. Oh, I can understand that. I can understand that. And then by the time the decision is actually made, it's the complete opposite of what the people wanted.
Yes.
How did that happen?
So partly
spiritual forces of wickedness is the conclusion that I come to.
So the House and the Senate have kind of diverged in this because, and I don't know the exact timeline, but the Senate, the president is elected by the entire body.
Okay.
And they have constitutional responsibilities.
Okay.
And it was somewhere around the time that Bill Dix was the majority leader and Jack Whitford was the president. They gave more power to the majority leader. And the president has the authority to give that and take it back.
Okay.
Well,
there are two separate positions that are elected by a majority of the senators.
The president is elected by the majority of the entire chamber.
Oh, yeah.
The majority leader only by the majority party.
So in theory, there's a little bit of a balance there where the president, you would hope, would represent everybody, at least give a hearing to even the minority party. Okay.
So, and there are actual constitutional things that should be in the president's purview because he represents the whole chamber.
Yeah. You're a fiduciary to the Constitution. Yeah.
Political things should be handled by the majority leader.
Okay.
They blurred that line.
No.
And we're still functioning under that rule.
I mean, it's kind of like, just to dumb it down, what it sounds like is a group of people got power and, like people do, got a little bit intoxicated by their power and grabbed and grabbed and grabbed. And
yes. And I think the argument can be made. It could be made. I'm not sure that it's murky because each Senate gets to basically choose their rules. They do have a say in their own rules.
Yeah.
However, the Constitution says that these are roles that the president is supposed to have. So that you could make the argument that the president could say, I'm taking back my
it doesn't matter what we voted to you because, like, it wasn't voted, like, it was not given to me to vote away.
Right. Because technically, I don't believe that even the Senate can negate the Constitution.
No, of course not. It's the supreme law of the land. Like, right? I mean, now in practice that happens all the time.
And we're talking state constitution here.
Okay, yeah.
But it's the supreme law of our state.
The supreme law of our state, yeah. But I mean, the trouble is, like, we always say we're a nation of laws, but the way that just humans work is the people in power, if they ignore the law, then guess what? It's not the law that's in power. It's the people that are in power. Right. It just is what it is. Yeah.
Well, and we have a real problem with activist judges.
Yeah.
But there's a flip side to that. When our legislature doesn't legislate, it leaves the judge with no choice but to be an activist judge.
Yeah, they're going to be an activist one way or another. Yeah.
And there's a lot of times where, I've had legislators on this eminent domain case say, just let the courts decide it. No, this is a constitutional issue. Yeah. You raised your hand and took an oath just like they did.
Exactly. Yep.
Spell it out. It's your job to spell this out.
You pledge your life, your fortune, your sacred honor is what the Declaration of Independence says to secure these rights, in support of this declaration.
The first year that I lobbied at the Capitol, we had a bill that basically said that the eminent domain piece had to be decided. The constitutionality of the eminent domain piece had to be decided before everything else. Mm-hmm. And something that's going on in our courts is whenever there's a constitutional issue, our courts purposely try to decide the case on any other merit other than the Constitution. And I don't think that's nefarious. I think that's, in a way, they don't want to mess with the Constitution.
Precedent, and
I can kind of
rule on the
see that.
Constitution. It could apply to so many more cases. So I see. I could see why they would do that.
Every attorney is a steward of the court.
Yeah.
And if an
Agent of
attorney
the Constitution, too.
raises, as a steward of the court, raises a constitutional issue, I would like to see him write a law that said, time out. This case stops. We will decide the constitutional issue first. Because let's face it, a lot of times when you decide the constitutional issue, then the case goes away.
Right.
And when we do it the way we do it, because a lot of times it does require a lot of money to go to the Constitution, we are creating precedent, potentially creating precedent that is against the Constitution. And it's not that we didn't have a case to fight it, it's that we didn't have the money to fight it.
That's just no good. It's just a matter of, so much of it comes back to is like people, regular Americans, attorneys, judges, legislators, business people, everybody, if we come back around this idea that we're the people that hold it to be self-evident, we're all created equal, we're endowed by our Creator with the rights of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. It's the government's responsibility to secure those rights. And we are all together in this, pledging to one another our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honor, our reputations, money, all that stuff. This all can work out.
Yes. Yes. We have, without a doubt, the best well-written Constitution in history.
Yeah.
We just choose to ignore it.
We choose to ignore it. And tell me if you agree with this, but it's, I forget if it's John Adams or who, but this system works for a moral people,
Yes.
right? Like we've abandoned our God.
Yes.
And through a few generations of that, it's no surprise that our institutions are failing because they all depended on people who have integrity and courage and faithfulness and all of these characteristics that if you don't have those, you have to make more and more rules and there has to be more and more checks and balances and everybody has to be watching each other all the time because you can't trust each other.
They have completely perverted what separation of church and state was ever supposed to mean. It doesn't actually exist in the Constitution in any way, shape, or form the way they like to claim that it does.
What does the Constitution actually say about that?
It just says that the state can't have a state religion.
Yep.
That's all. It does not mean that religious people can't be part of the process.
Which is so obvious.
And when you look at the founders and how much they relied on the Bible and its principles.
And prayer. And
if you look at state constitutions, they're even stronger than our federal constitution and that you are to be some of them were like you had to admit that there was a God.
Yeah.
I
think nine of the original 13 colonies had, as a condition of citizenship, you had to have a profession of faith in Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Because that's what it was like. This system is a Christian system. Now, people always say it's a theocracy or whatever. No, under a Christian system, the Christian God says you have freedom of religion.
Right.
But in order to maintain freedom of religion, you have to have Christians in power. Because Muslims don't have that. Buddhists don't have that. Communists don't have that.
The Judeo-Christian faith lends itself to being able to handle the freedoms we have.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not to say, of course, we know, everybody's experienced this, is we have Christian people who claim the name Christian and use their power and abuse their power.
True.
So, just can't do that. So. Interesting stuff. So what else do we have on the list today? I had at least one or two other things I want to talk to you about.
Well, another thing I'd like to talk about, I've made the comment that you get what you subsidize.
Yeah.
And that definitely, we can easily see that in our agriculture, but it also affects our schools.
Absolutely.
Because we Lynn Evans.
Oh, yeah. Love Lynn. Yep.
Lynn was a superintendent. He's the chair of the education committee in the Senate. I called Lynn up and I asked him, put on your superintendent hat again. Mm-hmm. How many of your costs in your school were variable costs compared to fixed? He goes, it wouldn't be, maybe between 10 and 15% were variable. Okay. Almost all of the costs are fixed.
85, 90% of the cost of running a school from a superintendent's perspective is fixed.
Is fixed cost. I mean, if the teacher is a fixed cost.
Yeah.
If I run a bus route and I only fill the bus with half the kids, doesn't mean I get to cut the size of the route.
Yep.
The heating cost is a fixed cost. Mm-hmm. Yet almost all of the funding to our schools is variable.
It's all based on students, right?
It's all based on number of students.
Yep.
So it goes back, same thing as a farmer. Our little schools aren't inefficient. They just simply aren't efficient at extracting the subsidy. So you get what you subsidize. Okay. The way we fund our schools, if you want to be successful, you put in larger class size. Mm-hmm. We all know that we don't want larger class size, but we're creating a system that forces them to have larger class size.
Will pressure a school district to do that because they must do that.
And the problem with this is we're looking at our schools as their only function is to teach students. But that's not all that we get from our schools. Mm-hmm. When you go into our small communities, they are the center of our communities. Mm-hmm. We are hollowing out our communities by putting all these schools together in order to meet a formula that's artificial.
Phil Hemingway, Johnson County supervisor candidate, was here yesterday. He told the exact story. Hills, Iowa, closed. Basically, Iowa City Community School District. Hills is a small town that has an elementary school, I think it was, and they had this whole plan, and he was just kind of just lamenting that he was part of the school board when this happened. He felt terrible about it, but they had promised these people, we're going to build you a new school, we're going to do all this stuff. Well, fast forward, I don't remember if it was a year, 2 years, something like that later, and they changed their mind, and you're getting shut down. Yep. Now we're going to come and bus all your kids from Little Hills, Iowa, and you're going to have to go to school in Iowa City now.
Yep.
I mean, that's just... Nobody in Hills wanted that, I don't think.
No. And the thing is, so I asked Lynn, I said, what's the ideal class size for second grade? And he goes, I think it's between 16 and 23 or 22, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And that was off the top of his head. I mean,
yeah, sure, but he's an expert.
He's an expert. He has a pretty good idea.
Usually guys like him, you can trust.
He goes, when you get below 16, there are some techniques that they can't use.
Okay.
Which I hadn't really thought of it that way.
Okay.
But if we wanted to develop a program that helped cover fixed costs and reward small class size, we should set it up so that doesn't matter how many students you have below 16, we're going to pay you for 16 students.
Okay.
It doesn't matter how many students you have above 23, we're only going to pay you for 23.
Interesting, yeah.
That way, we are not incentivizing them, especially in these lower grades. Mm-hmm. We are not incentivizing them to fill these classrooms with more.
And put more strain on the teachers and more.
In a hog building, in a 1,200 head hog building, in most of these hog buildings, you know what's in the middle of them? A wall to divide them.
Really?
Because they found that having that many in one room made them less productive.
Just because they didn't like being around each other?
Just a sheer number. And all those hogs have to do is eat, drink, poop, and gain weight.
But they just hate it.
But yet we're
they don't. But grow.
Yet we're growing these schools bigger and bigger, and nobody's paying attention to the fact that like when they had Columbine, most of those students that were affected in that didn't know those kids.
Wow.
Maybe if we had smaller schools, we'd have fewer of those things happen.
That's what I'm trying to do, actually. So I have this Empower Iowa is a school I founded, and we started as a homeschool co-op, 5 students last year. This year, we're going into the year as an accredited K through 3 school. And the idea here is we are learning to do it. It's me and a group from my church, and learning to run as a one-room schoolhouse. Yeah. And put teachers in to where they're empowered to run things the way they need to. We're taking advantage of educational savings accounts, and what I expect to be able to do is actually 16 students is the number that was in my head, actually, with maybe some room to grow in that, and like bring that amount together and allow anybody to come under the Empower Iowa umbrella to, if you got a church with a Sunday school room, or if you're a school district and you have an extra classroom and you want to try it, like Lynn talks about running a charter school when he was superintendent within the confines of a school. You can do this. We'll help you run it. We'll accredit you. We'll do all of this. And it's an alternative idea where like families can begin to like rebuild trust with the schools. Teachers can be empowered again, and kids can start to thrive.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up the one-room schoolhouse, because the curriculum in a one-room schoolhouse is totally different than what we have.
Right, yeah.
And
we've had to come up with our own. I mean, the homeschool network is actually fantastic. There's so many resources for that. But
what our public schools use is the Austrian model. And that didn't really come into play until the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, right around the 1900s, yeah.
So the Austrian model was produced to produce soldiers. And, they had the bell, the whole works, where you teach them the regiment.
Yeah, soldiers and industrial assembly line workers.
We adopted that because we wanted factory workers.
Yeah.
The simple fact of the matter is, industries today don't want that.
We don't want
We
that.
are producing a product that is not in demand. Mm-hmm. And actually, if you go back to that old model, the McGuffey reader, where the student was allowed to move at their own pace, mm-hmm. we can utilize technology in a way to facilitate that.
Respect for the image of God in a person, mm-hmm. in a student, when we treat them as an individual mm-hmm. too. And if we're going to have schools, government schools, they need to be honoring that image, and respecting the role of parents and all of that stuff. And think about it from a kid's perspective. You probably wouldn't hate school if somebody actually gave you like the way to have a little bit of autonomy over your own learning.
So I was that kid in school that the teachers, very few actually really liked me. Most of them absolutely hated me. I never studied. I never took home homework. Mm-hmm. First thing I would do is I can remember reading, they sent out the student handbook before school, mm-hmm. freshman year. I read that thing cover to cover. I knew every rule there was. I'm like, I don't know why you're giving me this, because this is my way of taking over. Yeah. And I came to the conclusion that my school day was probably going to be a little longer than everybody else's. That once you realize I can do whatever I want as long as I'm willing to take a 15-minute or half-hour detention for it, the rules don't apply to me.
Who cares? I just made my 7 hours a lot more pleasant. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I was a thorough pain. Mm-hmm. If it was a class that I liked math. If it was a required class that I was mad that I didn't want, I was a complete pain. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, the more class requirements you give kids, especially at that high school level, the less you're going to get out of them.
Well, and think about all the kids, what that did to the kids who did want to be there, or if there were that were trying to learn.
Yes.
Well, yes. You're miserable, but you have to be there. So you're making them miserable. The teacher is totally unable to be effective. Like, it's a lose, lose, lose. Like, yes. I mean, and like, sorry, it's like, it's not ideal that some kids don't want to learn, but guess what? If they don't want to learn, you can't force them to learn.
I was an equal opportunity student because I would have anywhere from an A+ to a D on my report card. And it all just depended on whether I thought I needed to know it or not.
You cared, yeah. What did your parents have to say about that?
I can remember one teacher calling my dad, and they had like a 45-minute conversation. He goes, I don't know what to tell you. He goes, I don't tell that kid what to do. He just does it. He goes, I don't know why you can't handle it. But I had teachers, the same teacher had come in. I was in the library, and this teacher comes in, and she was my English teacher, and she starts chewing on me. Mm-hmm. And she goes, is it true you're getting an A+ in history? I go, I'm getting an A. I don't know if it's an A+ or not. And she was mad.
Yeah.
She goes, the other English teacher.
Because she just realized, like, oh, you're not dumb.
Yeah.
You're just choosing not to pay attention in my class.
I never did understand English. None of that made any. I don't. If they want to make a national language, any language but English. Yeah. But so I'm sitting there and I'm going, I'm getting chewed out for getting an A+. You know? And she's like, I was in the teacher's lounge. And another teacher and I were complaining about you. And the history teacher came in and said, I don't know what you're complaining about. He's getting an A+ in my class. You have to get a 99 or 100 to get an A+ in my class. So she was the one who called my dad. Yeah. And she goes, the problem is I have a son that's a lot like him. Yeah. I don't know what to do with
If I could understand Doyle, maybe I can understand my son. Yeah.
and so I would figure out their grading, the way they graded. Mm-hmm. And then I would, on the homework, I would only do enough so that I made sure they couldn't fail me. So I had a biology class, and it was required. Mm. They'd required it. I wasn't happy about that. And I had figured out that it did not matter what I got on the final exam. Mm. She could not flunk me. And there were 2 sections of this biology class, and then somebody had made the comment that a large portion of the answers were B. So I thought, I just put B the whole way down. Yeah. Handed it in. Mm-hmm. She starts grading it. She had one of those stamp deals. Mm-hmm. And she sees what's going on, and she goes, do you want to change this? Nope, I'll take whatever grade I get. The bad part, I had the highest grade in the class.
Oh, no.
Oh,
my goodness. And the thing is, like, that's what people figure out. It's like, oh, this is a game, and I got to beat the game.
Yes.
And
they would get mad because, okay, I'm playing your game.
Yeah.
And that teacher came up to me and she's like, how do you think you're going to make it through college? I'm like, my understanding is they don't grade homework in college.
That's just another game. Like, I figured out this is a game. I'm going to find out their game. I'm going to beat them at that
I've already figured. I go, I'm getting better test scores than a lot of your other students, and I'm not getting the final grade that you're given. Mm-hmm. Why are you hurting my grade with homework? Mm-hmm. Whoa. They need that in order to pass. I said,
well, I don't.
But they don't need, but they're not getting the score on the test that I'm getting. Mm-hmm. How is this right? And there was a different, and we do too much teaching for the test.
Yeah.
And we're in a day and age where you take that phone. We have got more information than we've ever.
Well, and I talked to some of the teachers, and it's actually oppressive to good teachers in a lot of cases that they got to worry about the tests because they know what they can tell if this kid is thriving or not thriving. Mm-hmm. And the test is actually, it might be an indicator of success, but it's not a be all and end all, and it shouldn't rent space in their minds. If a good teacher sees a different path that needs to be taken for this student or this entire class, we need to have freedom for these people for great people to use their talent.
Well, and the McGuffey reader allowed, the goal.
What's a McGuffey reader? Is that like an old,
Oh, you don't?
I don't even know. Yeah.
So the McGuffey reader was what a lot of those country schools used to use.
Okay.
And basically, because that teacher's teaching, as many as 8 different grades.
Yeah.
And it allowed the students to go at their own pace, and however successful they were, they could go right through that. And my aunt graduated from the 8th grade at 2 years ahead.
Yeah.
Because
some kids should be able to do that.
Yes.
Well, let's not compel them to keep slogging through just because they're not fitting our timeline.
And the McGuffey reader allowed them to be in that grade but maybe in this subject they're 2 grades ahead. They might be
behind
below in another subject.
Yeah, that's great. I mean,
but it allows allows kids sitting next to each other to not necessarily be studying the same thing, but
right.
From my mom taught in a country school, and I've known people who went to there, and a big part of it was they were sitting listening to the teacher talk to this other student about something maybe that was a review for them, and it helped them on theirs, or maybe it was farther ahead. Because let's face it, a lot of what kids miss in our education is they don't understand why they're learning what they're learning.
And then they disconnect.
Yes. If they don't see a reason. I mean, I have so many people. I've never diagrammed a sentence since I got out of high school.
Yeah,
I hated diagramming sentences, and I never understood
language arts.
Why we were doing that.
Yeah,
but I've got a friend from high school. She's a English teacher in college, and she's like, I have never used geometry. Well, I have.
Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah.
Yes, and we need to get away from this strict structure and allow these kids to advance we can't just completely ignore the basics, but we can allow them to advance and move at their own pace.
Yeah.
And my final semester in high school, I had signed up for every independent study course. And I only had one. Math was really the only thing I cared about. I loved history, but I didn't have any more history I could take. So I signed up for like an advanced math class or calculus or something, and everything else was independent study. And they knew darn good and well what I was going to do was I just wasn't going to show up until the real class was there.
Of course.
So this guidance counselor came to me and he said, Doyle, how would you like to graduate midterm? I go, do I have enough credits?
All right.
And he goes, no, but I have an idea. So he walked me up to the principal and he goes, Mr. Turner would like to talk about graduating midterm. And the principal goes, Turner, I will do whatever I can to get rid of you. And
you won. Yeah.
Yeah. So they fudged the numbers to get me out.
Yeah.
And it's like, so.
And you were happier. The teachers were happier. The other students were happier. Everybody was happier.
Well, the other students weren't quite as happy because then they cracked down on them harder because I wasn't there.
Okay, well.
But so they would, during study hall, they would let me pick up slips just to get me out of the study hall. So I walk around and I just roamed the school that period.
The feral high schooler running around.
Well, then I walk in and there was nobody in the office one day. And I found out that the detention list was done in pencil.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm thinking, oh, this will be funny. I was always on the detention list. So I decided I'll erase my name off. Figured I'd get caught. But I thought it'd be funny.
Yeah.
I didn't get caught.
Oh.
I think the detention teacher.
I didn't want to deal with you.
Didn't want to deal with me. So when these people talk about, these kids, it's like, I am one of them.
Yeah.
I know how they think.
Yeah.
And, another thing that I find.
Well, and somebody who doesn't just like, it's like you almost have like what you're describing is almost like an allergic reaction to that system. Like you just couldn't thrive in it. It doesn't mean that you can't thrive in life.
Right. Yeah. I went to college and I got through college. You're a contributing member of your community. I got a double major.
Farmer.
I got a double major, and between getting out of college early and I took a whole year. I eliminated 1 year between the two.
Yeah.
The
guy who your teacher thought maybe wouldn't be able to make it through, you're a year ahead.
Yeah. And it's like, it was funny because college started. I went straight to college, but college started 2 weeks before the high school semester was over. They said, you just go, but you got to come back and take the semester tests. Like, okay. So I had this, it was an econ teacher. And I went back, and that was my last final at high school. So I went ahead and I took that final, and I got up to leave. Mm-hmm. And he goes, Doyle, sit down. I said, no, I'm done. Mm-hmm. And he goes, sit down. I'm going to take your test and throw it away. And I go, you tell the principal why I'm here next semester then. He goes, go ahead and leave.
Yeah. I mean, it's just you figured out what the
I figured out how to play their system. And I say part of that because at the Capitol, that's kind of what I'm doing.
Right. You reject the rules of the system.
Yes. Everybody believes the Democrats and the Republicans can't work together. And I can remember Kevin Alon's saying to me, Senator Alon's,
I love Kevin, yeah.
He goes, Doyle, you are asking the most conservative Republicans to work with these Democrats. And I said, Kevin, you're going to find out that those conservative Republicans actually have more in common with those Democrats than they do the rhinos in their own party. Man.
So what advice do you have for, a legislator that is kind of like I was describing my mindset of like so turned off by Democrats and sort of the hardcore socialist movement within that party, where there's probably legislators on the Republican side in Des Moines that are just shut off and won't even talk to the Democrats, and probably Democrats that are shut off to the Republicans.
Yep.
But what you've just said is there's a lot more in common between certain subgroups of each party, and there's probably a lot to be gained from them coming together. Like, how can you even do that? Like, I mean,
So I'll give you an example. We had a representative who had a bill, and when it got to the Senate, one of the Senate Democrats made the comment, this bill is half-baked.
Okay.
And it made that representative mad. Well, I'm good friends with both of them, and I brought it up to the senator that made the comment, and he goes, oh, he doesn't understand. I'm his biggest fan. He goes, I shouldn't have said that, but it's half-baked. He goes, I don't want to do part of it. I want to go farther.
Interesting.
And so I got
the Democrat is offended by
it was actually the Republican that was offended by the Democrat's comment.
So, the guy maybe shouldn't have said that, whatever, bad choice, whatever.
He should have gone in more detail.
Whatever, that's how we are. Like, people need to be okay with having things.
So I got them to meet, and we had a meeting in Des Moines, and I'd taken my 19.
Do you have to do this like in secret so like they don't
that
get
one
public?
Was, yes. We did not.
You can't be seen with these people.
We did not do that at the Capitol.
It's just, some of the politics of how things work, I'm like, are you guys like toddlers? Like, I mean, it's okay that we disagree. Number one, it's okay that we strongly disagree. It's okay that we argue, and it's also okay that we talk to each other.
Yes, yes.
And just because I talk to somebody or am seen publicly with them doesn't mean that I agree with everything they say. I'm not endorsing the whole party platform. Right. It's just I got to work with this person, and
and the simple fact of the matter is the legislative process works best when both sides have something to say.
Yeah. Ones that are worth listening to, like, and I agree that we got issues with some of our Republicans, like they don't. Anyway, yeah. So go carry on.
I get them together, and I'd taken my daughter along, who was 19 years old, and it was about a 2.5 hour meeting. And when they're done, they decided to work on the bill together.
Okay.
There was going to be an event. They decided to both speak at the event.
Okay.
And my daughter said afterwards, she goes, Dad, you didn't really say much for the first hour and a half. And I go, my job's to get them together and to facilitate conversation. As long as they're talking, my job's to shut up.
And pray, yeah.
Obviously, she's not used to Dad shutting up very often. So it was a shock to her.
Like, Dad, I've never heard you silent for an hour.
But it's amazing when you actually get them to sit down. It's like, oh, oh, we do have this in common. It's just like with the ACLU. You would be surprised at how many Republicans he works with.
Interesting.
He's a darn good attorney, and you would be
fair-minded, and he works hard, has a standard of excellence. Wow.
Pete. I don't know why I'm having trouble with his name.
You probably remember as soon as we turn off the recording.
Exactly, exactly. Pete McRoberts, that's his name. Need to give Pete.
Thank you, Pete.
Pete does a lot of, and here's the deal. Civil liberties should not be a partisan issue.
No.
Nope. And do we disagree with them some? Sure. But we agree with them in principle.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all about civil liberties. I
mean, everybody knows the civil rights movement came out of MLK, right? And Martin Luther King. Everybody knows that I have a dream. But you know what the dream was? The dream was that we would go back to being the nation that believes all men are created equal and endowed by their creator. Not that all men are categorized into black and white and Asian, or categorized into male and female and trans and whatever, or categorized into rich and poor, or urban and rural. No, all men are created equal.
Notice that he didn't, when he said, he didn't want his kids to not be judged. He wanted them judged on their content of character and not on the color of their skin.
Exactly.
I mean,
if we can come back under that banner, we actually all can get along.
And one thing you'll find, people who lack content of character, they want to be judged by any other metric but that.
Yeah. Can't you see I'm an oppressed minority? Da, 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 da.
Well, and that's the thing. When you protect individual liberty, you don't have to worry. That is the ultimate minority. We're all individuals. Every one of us are a minority. There's only
only one Doyle. There's only one Leo. Yeah.
And so as long as we protect those individual rights and do them with the blindfold on that Lady Justice is supposed to have, as long as we do it that way, we don't have to worry about protecting each group's rights. Yeah. Because we've already protected them as individuals.
Exactly, yeah. And the groups is like, that is in the Marxist tradition of divide into groups, turn the groups into oppressor and oppressed, capitalize off the tension, create either chaos or whatever, and then seize control in the midst of that happening. And we just can't allow that to happen in this country because I'm not ready to go back to jail.
Yes, you have seen the ugly side.
Yeah.
And I am very impressed with the attitude that you have. And, a lot of people would be very bitter. And that makes you less effective. And a big part of what makes you so effective is that you're not bitter about it. Yeah, you don't want to repeat it.
No.
But you are here to make sure that it doesn't get repeated for anybody.
Yeah. And it's got to be like, all the bitterness it can take you back to the pendulum swinging, right?
Yes.
Like, we're going to take power back, and we're going to get you.
Yes.
And that is not a sustainable way for the United States to exist. Right. We must come back under this banner of we're all created equal. We've pledged to one another our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honor. We're the people that have a government that exists in service to the creator. The creator's where the rights come from. And he's the only one that can, like, when you have something really awful happen to you that's totally unfair and anything, like, well, it's only the cross of Jesus Christ that gives you the ability and the way to interpret it as like, oh, I can be victorious here. Like, otherwise you just go spiral back into revenge, and then you just cause more destruction, and like there is no forgiveness, there's no rebirth, there's no new life, it's just kill, destroy, and
and when I judge your idea based on who you are rather than your actual idea, I don't just do you a disservice, I do myself a disservice.
Yeah, you might be missing out.
Because in banking, I had an elderly gentleman that I financed one time, and he goes, I haven't had a banker like you for years. He goes, you don't tell me what to do. And I go, no, I choose people that I want to do business with, that I want to invest in based on their ability. If I tell all you guys what to do, you'll all go broke at the same time. And I go, I want your thought process. This is your operation. It's your name at the bottom of that note. And I'm investing in you because I believe in your ability to make decisions. Now, were there times that I had to say, time out? No, we're not doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
I don't like those situations. That's not preferable. I do know bankers who that's how they ran things. But it's the same thing. Some of the best ideas, I had bought a bunch of new hay equipment from Vermeer, and I got to tour the plant, and one of the engineers was the one that gave me the tour, and we were talking about different ways they come up with ideas, and he goes, "I draw pictures. I don't come up with ideas." He goes, "The vast majority of the ideas from this company come from the people working on the line," and he goes,
"That's great.
Our company, if you build, a windrower, you will spend X amount of hours every year running the piece of equipment you build." And he goes, "That's where we get our ideas from. These guys will be standing there putting this on, and they'll go, you know what? If we changed this, we could make this so much easier."
That's such a great model.
And, nobody... I used to tell my kids, I go, when you're right all the time, you have to be used to people disagreeing with you.
Oh, that happens to me too. No wonder. Yeah, okay.
But I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
We don't have all the answers.
Right.
And some of the best ideas I've ever had that have come to me came from some of the dumbest people I ever knew.
That's the power of humility.
And sometimes sometimes they didn't even realize what a good idea they had, and it's like, and sometimes I think we get caught up with all the details, and sometimes these people can just see it, like they can see the forest through the trees, and it's like, oh, wow, and that's what the legislature's supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's supposed to bring these people together with these diverse backgrounds.
Yep.
They're supposed to debate, which doesn't happen hardly ever anymore. Everything's done behind closed doors in caucus. Yeah. I'd love to get rid of caucus. I would love to. We had a few really good debates. One of them was on the constitutional amendment. And to require 2/3 majority in both houses in order to raise the income tax. At first blush, that looks like a really good thing. How could that be bad? Well, number one, it gives an over innate amount of power to the minority. Well, that goes against the whole idea of a republic. The other thing is, if it was on all taxes, I could maybe agree with it. But where you only single out income tax, that means, and in order to be efficient, we need all the tools in the tool shed. We already have Republicans talking about double-digit sales tax. Well, sales tax is the most regressive tax there is. The nice thing about an income tax is it actually has a means test. We can't really do that with property tax or sales tax or all those. And it always amazes me, and I know wealthy people, they pay more tax. Well, only property owners pay property tax. I don't see here the outrage that,
right.
But you got to look at it from the total. What is the effective rate overall? Our wealthy people do pay the most income tax, but they don't pay hardly any Social Security tax.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You earn your way out of that, and you only pay a certain amount a year, and you never don't have to pay any more.
Well, and if you were a trust fund baby and you can live off of nothing but interest, you don't pay any Social Security tax. You don't pay any Medicare tax.
Medicare, you don't pay income tax.
And when you turn 65, you still get Medicare. There's a lot of inequalities in our system. But what we should be doing is constantly tweaking them in small amounts to get it as efficient as possible.
A wise solution, yeah.
So, because one of the things, Kevin Alonzo and I were having a discussion on the Laffer curve, and I said, the whole goal of the Laffer curve is to find that sweet spot where the lowest rate results in the maximum amount of revenue. And he made the comment, well, we don't want to maximize revenue. I said, sure we do. And he goes, well, you don't want to increase tax dollars. Mm-hmm. I said, but it's set up so that if I've maximized the revenue to the state, I've also maximized the amount of money that the people make.
The point is that there's a win-win, and that's what Reagan's tax cuts were famous for. This, right? Like they cut taxes and government revenue went up.
Yes. Yeah. You'll get people that'll say, "Well, trickle down doesn't work." Mm-hmm. But it did then. Mm-hmm. It probably won't now.
It's just not that.
Because we fixed
different day.
It's totally different lowering an income tax that's 65% than lowering one that's 27.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And that's a big part of our problem. We have a lot of Republicans who view economics like a religion. Yeah. And it's not. They believe that if you do A, you get B. Well, there's more variables than that. And this, I like I said, a lot of these Republicans are woke, and they believe that it's 1980 and they're Ronald Reagan. Yeah. And it's like, he solved those problems. The same solution won't solve our problems today.
Yeah, the 80s had their own challenges. We have our own challenges.
Yes, and we have to adjust to that. And that one solution, had somebody made the comment to me that, well, Keynes economics doesn't work. I go, how would you know? Mm-hmm. Well, we've tried it for all these years. I said, no, we haven't tried Keynes economics. Keynes' theory did not say put the economy on heroin and leave it there. You tried part of Keynes, but you didn't do the other part, because when the economy goes down, you are supposed to stimulate it. When it goes up, you're supposed to hold it back. They never hold it
all
back.
They ever do is stimulate. Okay, I get you. Yeah.
So you can't say that it didn't work if you didn't do the whole thing.
You actually have to. If you were going to give it a shot, you got to give the whole thing the shot.
What we actually proved is that politicians are not responsible enough to do both parts of Keynes' theory.
And that's we got to come back under this banner that, government has a responsibility, and it's to secure freedom, ultimately, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. And it's just not a great tool for anything other than that.
Right.
We got to limit it. We got to get people that I think that are elected that care about the people they represent. And everybody that they represent, not just their own party, not just and just look for wise, good solutions for, Bible says government is God's servant to do you good, and you need to pay taxes to whom taxes is due. So we need the right tax rate, and we need to be responsible and efficient and effective with how we use that money, but it doesn't need to be zero, and we don't need to create a whole, minefield of ever needing to making it impossible to raise it again. We don't. That's just we don't got to do that.
No,
we need a legislator that is committed to wisdom, to courage, to strength, to liberty, to life.
We've gotten things backward. When the federal government shuts down, it's big news.
Yeah.
You know why? Because if they didn't tell us, we'd never know.
Yeah, right.
They don't do anything that truly affects our day-to-day thing. I don't quote Tom Vilsack very often. I don't agree with him very often. Mm-hmm. However, he did make a comment that he knew that Iraq, our efforts in Iraq were not going to be successful. And he said this before the fact.
Yep.
He goes, it won't be successful because we're setting up a federal government and we're not setting up state and local governments. He goes, if you want water and sewer and roads and all those things, you have to have local government. Yeah. And he's absolutely right. So we are putting way too much money and resources into a federal government that doesn't actually affect our day-to-day lives. Mm-hmm. But we're doing the same thing at the state level. Yeah. our local governments that do the most for us are getting the least amount of money.
And we spend the least amount of time and effort vigilantly campaigning, electing, supporting the people who do that. And they are the ones that serve us the most directly.
And, that was one thing I learned. I have people, like, what can I do? Get involved locally.
Yeah.
Go to your supervisor meetings. Watch them when you don't go to them.
Yep.
Yes, go to those meetings. I'll tell you, we have a lot of people that say property taxes are too high. Mm-hmm. I disagree with that.
I had Curtis Bauer on here saying, like, hey, listen, I'm a mayor of a small town, and like, you can't do that to my town because we actually need to be able to like raise money.
Yes.
And he's a conservative guy.
He is. Yeah. And I have been to all sorts of different counties to their supervisor meetings. Mm-hmm. You know what? I've never seen anybody come in talking about property taxes. If property taxes were truly too high, they wouldn't be running to Des Moines. They'd be running to those local meetings.
I wish and there's a lot of freedom in that. For like, I hope that our really good legislators in Des Moines can find freedom in like, no, this is not a state issue. This is a county issue. You got a problem with your taxes, your property taxes? Go talk to your county. Go talk to your city. Go talk to your school district.
If that local community decides I want to invest more in my community, they should have the right to do that.
Well, and
so the cap that they passed, that's not a cap. Mm-hmm. They're going to take that every year.
Yeah.
Because in Woodbury County, we had a finance director by the name of Dennis Butler. He's passed away now, but he worked for our county for 47 years. Mm-hmm. Good, conservative, wise handling money, good guy. Mm-hmm. And when 718 passed in the legislature and it capped what they could grow, he told them, my county has, for over 10 years, has not raised the rate.
Yeah.
Now, they've gotten more money in because the values went up, but they haven't raised the rate.
Yeah.
That's good governance. Mm-hmm. He goes, I know you don't like to raise the rate, but if you don't take it, you lose it.
Yeah.
And that's the way they're going to look at it.
Yeah.
So capping revenue, that's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
You and I don't do that with our budget.
No. Yeah.
We don't say, I want to spend less, so I'm going to call my employer and say, don't pay me as much.
Nonsense, yeah.
And Woodbury County, we had a $2.5 billion nitrogen plant built by CF. And they came in, and we had a change in county government, and the old one made a commitment. Then the new one was like, we didn't know about this, but anyhow, we had a lot of infrastructure to pay for, especially with roads. So what they did was they robbed Peter to pay Paul, and they stopped putting gravel out in the county. They cut that way back in order to build the infrastructure. And after the abatement went off, they took $10 million and put it right back into our roads and have been massively putting gravel back on those roads. And they needed it. 10 years is a long time to go. Right. They wouldn't be able to do that. They wouldn't be able the state is limiting my county's ability to make those choices.
Yeah. It's just, I'm not a fan of, we like, I understand they're trying to do a good thing. Like, okay, protect people's income, all that.
It's the unintended consequences.
But you've got to, like, if it's hard and if it's difficult, don't let these people just do a cop-out and go running to Des Moines. Like, you need to go through the hard work of getting the county supervisors elected, city council elected, school board, whoever those local officials are, to get your stuff cleaned up. Like, and if we don't do that, like, Des Moines is just inherently going to be clumsy because Polk County is a lot different than Woodbury County.
Yes.
And it's just Winneshiek County is different than Lynn County. It's
when they were talking about making a matrix for zoning for wind and solar, we tried to do a matrix in Woodbury County, especially for solar. Now, we've got the Missouri River bottom, which is as flat as a table, but there's a lot of really poor ground down there. And then we've got these really steep hills that are very erodible. We could not come up with a matrix that made sense.
Yeah. In your county.
In my county. Yeah, how are you going to do that on a state level? You can't. Especially
just make a bad one.
So we had like 9 different meetings with the supervisors, fully public, standing room only for the wind. We had, I think, 13 meetings between the supervisors and the zoning board on the solar. The meeting in the Senate was 20 minutes. You're looking at the entire state and you're giving this 20 minutes when my county spent hours and hours and hours where everybody got a time to speak that wanted to talk. This is not good government. Yeah. That's why it belongs local.
It's got to be local.
Yeah.
Well, great to talk to you this morning, Doyle. I mean, is there anything else you want to you wanted to share with the good folks of Iowa?
We've been all over the place.
It's been a good conversation. I mean, and I so much appreciate just how you're fighting for not just unity in the legislature, but like a wise, like courageous unity where the right people come together for the right solutions. Doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. And Iowans, I know, are starved for that. And we like the trouble is, and I know I have this in my own self, is that we are so suspicious of one another, like the Republicans and the Democrats are. And well, there's a lot of hurt that, you know, all the past trauma that we all like that's the way it is. But it only is solved one person at a time, and you're doing that, you know, in the Capitol. Which I appreciate that.
And I think, you know, what I perceived a lobbyist to be and what I finally learned lobbyists to be totally different, because lobbyists do not have a good reputation.
No.
However, the lobbyists serve a real function, because obviously every lobbyist is important to what he picks out those certain things that he represents people, and those certain things are important, and they become somewhat of an expert. It's a very biased view. These legislators, when you've got 2,000-3,000 bills, they can't read them all.
It's impossible.
You know, Cindy Golding probably reads more bills than
any
other
we
person.
Think that Cindy might be superhuman, but
I would kind of, well, she's definitely the Energizer Bunny. I've got a funny story on that too. I was talking to the clerk that sat next to her, and she came up and talked to me, and she left, and I go, "How old do you think she is?" Goes, "Oh, I think she's about the same age as my parents, 46. Well, she's in her early 70s.
She does. She looks great. Yeah.
She's just literally the Energizer Bunny.
The Energizer Bunny, the fountain of youth. Yeah.
She reads ferociously. I mean, she reads a lot of bills. Yeah. Not everybody can do that, and even she can't get through them all.
Yep.
So
a lobbyist can be a subject
matter
expert.
So the lobbyist,
on,
you know, and this Tony Bisignano told me one time, he goes, "I don't read the bills." He goes, "I see all these attorneys, they show up and they read and they read and they read. You can't get through them." He goes, "I know, I figure out what the subject matter. I go find the lobbyist that sits with it. I go find the lobbyist that's going to be opposed to it, and I get both views." And he goes, a lot of times,
as good as I can do. Yeah.
He goes, and you build these relationships so you know which ones are going to tell you the truth and which ones are going to shade it more or less, you know. And in order to do good governance, the lobbyist does play a role in educating, because time is such a factor. Yeah. These guys, they're busy.
I mean, I just see the bills. I'm like, I don't know how I could read one of those.
Some of those. Yeah. You know, I mean,
and reading laws is horrible. Like,
if you have insomnia, it's a really good cure.
Right.
You know? And then a lot of times you read it and, you know, it's like the big print giveth and the small print taketh away. I mean, it sounds really good. And then you get down there and like, whoa, what's this?
Just neuters the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So the lobbyist plays an important role. Yeah. Some of them do earn their bad name. I will agree with that, as some politicians earn their bad name. But I have to say, I've met a lot of really good people. Yeah. Just a lot of really good people. And
it takes good people to get in the fight.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. But I recommend to everybody, start local.
Yeah.
Start local. And because the other thing is that gives you the basis. If you do go on, if you understand the local better, because I'm weird, I have a financial background, so I actually enjoy part of what I miss going to the Capitol is because that's when everybody's doing budgets. So I miss the budget process at Woodbury County, and it's boring, but I learn a lot. And that helps me a lot when I go to the Capitol. And that is one of the things with all of our entities, the schools and the cities and the counties, all and the state, all doing their budgets at the same time. The legislators don't get to see that process either. So they don't fully understand sometimes what these
they don't know what's going on in their own county.
Yes.
And then they're making a decision that affects the finances of that county. And it's like you're setting yourself up for failure.
Right. It would be nice. I know it would be kind of difficult, but it would be nice if we could stagger them a little.
Yeah.
So that, because I've been in counties where the representative or the senator shows up and they've got a good rapport with their county supervisors and they're not shocked that they're there. And I've been in counties that if they show up, it's like, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here? Yeah.
I like it when those representatives have that rapport.
Yeah.
Because those, especially the county, they have the pulse of their county. Those poor guys. I had a lot of people that thought I was going to run because I was going to the meetings. I was going to run for Zoom. No, I have no desire. I did not want to field the phone calls.
Yeah.
Those guys, it's supposed to be a part-time job in Woodbury County. Yeah, it's not a part-time job. It's a full-time job. And they're not really compensated for what they do. Yeah. We have a lot of thankless jobs. And quite honestly, our legislators aren't compensated for the amount of time they spend either.
I know. I mean, I like seeing what they go through, and I mean, they could, it's a hard job.
It's not. Yeah. It's definitely not a get rich quick scheme.
Yeah. No, you got to be corrupt to get rich.
So yeah, we've got a lot of them are there for the right reasons, and it's our job as citizens to make sure that they have the information to make the choices.
Yeah.
It's about communication.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I say we leave it at that. I think you've opened a window into like just how things work a little bit more at the state capitol, and you're a great resource for Iowa Liberty Network and Free Soil Foundation. So
Thank you.
Really appreciate how you fight for everything there. You support some of the best legislators there, and you're a bridge builder. So
I try.
I really appreciate that.
So. I mean, you have to realize I'm very conservative. I'm constitutional conservative, and there are people back home that are like, "You're the one working with the Democrats." Like, they weren't even talking to them.
I mean, it's God's people who are the bridge builders. Like we're the ones that have to carry that courageously go and make the connections.
Well,
and be wise about it. Yeah.
And I don't care who it is, if you can get ideas from anybody. And maybe they don't have the idea, but maybe it clicks something in you. And we have a tendency to like to be in our own echo chamber, and it doesn't hurt to get outside of that.
Yeah. I'm just going to say a quick prayer for you and close this thing out. So
thank you.
Father, we thank you for Doyle, and thank you for all of the good lobbyists, all the people down in Des Moines that fight for good causes and do so much work to make connections amongst our legislators and educate them and show them how to make wise choices about laws, and also just support them and encourage them and remind them that the cause is worthwhile, and that this nation is a good idea, and that righteousness in our government is worth fighting for. So I pray that your face would shine on Doyle, that you would give him the resources he needs to continue to fight the good fight. I pray that you'd give him peace and tranquility in his family and in his home. I pray that you'd give him breakthrough in his relationships at the Capitol, good connections. Will you sustain him with courage and good judgment so he doesn't fall prey to any deception or anything and get sucked into projects or schemes that are no good. And I pray that you'd continue to raise his influence and raise his star and make him a leader amongst our legislators for the cause of righteousness, for the cause of justice, and goodness, and may your light just shine through him. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thanks, Doyle.
Thank you.
Great to
have
have
you.
you.
It was fun.
Yeah.